right, y'all. Hobie Bass Open Series Day 2 on Caddo Lake. We're going to get straight into the fishing. You've already seen Day 1. I'm going to link it up top in case you haven't seen Day 1. But in Day 1, I was in pretty good position to be in check cashing range, and with a really a big day, run up the leaderboard into that top 5 or top 10. But conditions changed on Day 2. We'll get into that during the fishing footage here. And then stay tuned all the way until the end, and I'll show you the exact setups and the exact baits I used to catch all my fish down on Caddo Lake.
Day 2. We're still fishing, so that's a win.
So I started Day 2 where I ended Day 1, that second spot where I went on a late Day 1 run. Started on a tree that I'd caught them on in practice just to check it. Nothing doing there. Then I went to the row of trees, the tree line, where I caught them late Day 1. And the video really doesn't do it justice, but the wind was blowing in here, making it difficult to skip. You can really see it out here. I went to some moving baits, tried to throw a spinnerbait, crankbait out here in the wind. That was a no-go as well, so I moved back into it. It wasn't a boat lane, but it was a channel into the woods where the wind was calmer, and I could throw some weightless stuff around and try to get a bite. I was getting a little anxious because I fished for about an hour and a half or so without a bite, and then got this one right here and thought it was the one to get my day started. Hear that drag pulling? I got close to the boat and I saw it, and it was a dang grinnell. I was going to try to net it, then I thought, nah, the heck with it. My line's probably tore up anyway. I just let him pull and break me off. Boom. One last run. There he goes. He's gone. So I moved out of that area, found a protected kind of horseshoe in the middle of this island of trees, and found a row of timber very similar to what I'd fished on Day 1. And this is where my day began, where I started actually getting some bites. Finally hooked up with a fish. Wasn't sure how good it was, but it ended up being a solid keeper. This is where the PDL comes in clutch. You know, I got my feet on the pedals and I can just back up away from the cover instead of floating in or having to take my hand off and do anything. I can just pedal backwards and get out of there. So, in the boat, good start. 17 3/4 inch fish. Take those all day. Although on Caddo you're gonna need a lot better quality. Went right back to the tree line, skipped a wacky rig in between a couple trees here. Hooked up again. This one I felt really lucky to land because I was throwing just a 10-pound leader on 15-pound braid on this spinning rod, and this thing got wrapped around a tree or some of the knees of the tree, and I just kind of kept pressure on it until it came out of there. I swear that red label, it's cheap fluorocarbon, but it's tough, especially around trees and stuff. Got it in the boat. Keeper number 2. 33. That hunchback, little 15.5.
Hunchback. Old hunchback fish.
So 33 1/4. Days off and running. Now what do they say? 2 fish is a pattern. So I felt like I was on something right here. Kept with the wacky rig for a little bit. Alternated between the wacky and the weightless stick bait, Texas rigged. This one just got it. One hand set the hook with him. Pulled into it, really didn't set the hook. Another really good keeper. I was so fortunate to get him out of these trees with that light line, that light leader. 51 inches for 3 fish, another 17 3/4. Continued to kind of just do laps on this tree line here. The wind started getting to me a little bit, but much more protected than the main river was, or main lake. Got some of that Spanish moss on my GoPro. You can see it whipping around right there.
Got one good one anyway.
Some guys running tree lines saw me hook up with this one. Had visited with those old boys about the trot lines they were running. This one measured up 66.25. Solid 15 1/4 inch fish.
Give me one more. Come on.
The wind kind of swirled and blew me up into the tree, so I decided to kind of close combat flip that Senko right in between a set of trees there. Wasn't sure if I'd get bit, you know, way up in there like that, but sure enough, I've just got barely any line out. Just flipped the wrist, set the hook with that sharp weedless wacky hook, and I was kind of nervous here once again that the thing was going to get hung up in all that mess of trees, but I got it in a bow, keeper number 5. Wasn't a huge fish, but it put me at 81 inches. Now it was time to look for some coalfish.
That limit fish.
As soon as this hit the water, I saw this one take it. I mean, I saw him flash on it. It was cool. This was a pretty good goal for me. Got that Spanish moss blowing around on my GoPro for dramatic effect. Got him. I wasn't sure how big it was, but it was once again another 17 plus. See that wind lay down? It was very intermittent. 83 3/4.
Rolling, baby.
And we bringing rods.
So I continued to work those trees, and there were some deeper trees leading into that tree line where I thought I might catch a pre-spawn female getting ready to move up. So I pulled out a big jig, started flipping around some of these trees, and I thought this one right here was going to be the one. It hit just like a big one. Barely ticked it, then swam off. It was a big half-ounce jig I was flipping up in there. Set the hook, pulled him in, and it was just didn't help my limit at all, actually. But when it first ticked that line, boy, I thought it was the one. Internally, I was fired up. I thought that was my coal. So abandoned those trees with about 2 hours to go and ran to a channel bank to fish some cover, kind of threw a Hail Mary, fish some cover that I hadn't fished all week, which is fish docks and some shoreline cover, looking for some either spawning females or maybe some pre-spawn females up under those deeper docks. Never came together for me on the shoreline stuff. Ran out of time.
So there we have it, guys. Day 2, still busted 80 inches, but 80 inches wasn't enough to get up into check range. I actually slipped from 38th to 42nd. Needed that one kicker that I got late on day 1. On day 2, I didn't get it. So that's all right. I'm really satisfied with my performance down there. 42 out of 105. I know that doesn't sound like world-beating numbers, but they paid out the top 31. I was just one good fish from maybe getting up into that check range. Really built my confidence going into my next tournament, which I'm out here in the garage right now prepping for on Chickamauga Lake for the Bassmaster Championship. But I'm going to talk about the baits and the setups that I caught all my fish on during the 2 days of the tournament. All right, as you can imagine, I was on Caddo Lake, so the Senko or stick bait, this is not a Senko, the stick bait played a part down there. My setup for that, I threw it on 2 different rigs. I have it on my Temple Fork Outfitters 7-foot medium action professional series rod. I'm gonna do a whole other video on these TFO rods that I switched to exclusively for this year. Really happy with the TFO rod so far. And I threw a Texas rigged stick bait on a bait caster, 12-pound fluorocarbon. That was probably bait number 1, this and the wacky rig. For the wacky rig, another TFO professional series rod, cork handle. I used 15-pound braid. That's Suffolk's Advanced Braid with a 10-pound fluorocarbon leader, just Seaguar Red Label leader, nothing fancy. And then a little Gamakatsu weedless wacky hook. I tried a bunch of different baits on that, but the same June bug stick bait. These are Bass Pro Stickos. I find those the closest to the Yamamoto Senkos, maybe even better in my opinion. They fall similar. cast great, and you get 30 packs of these for less than $10 all the time on sale. But I threw this on the wacky rig and on this Texas rig right here. Weightless, both weightless. My day one kicker fish came on the trusty, see if I can get that to focus. Came on the trusty Zoom brush hog. This is the mid-size brush hog. You know, the brush hog's been around forever, the full size and the baby brush hog, even the tiny brush hog. But this mid-size just debuted in the last couple of years. Love the mid-size. Was throwing it with a 3/16 ounce tungsten weight that matched the color of the bait. Everything I was throwing was June bug, if you notice. The stick baits, the creature baits, June bug. Even the tungsten was weight. And that was with a 4/0 owner J-hook. My rod and reel for this setup, it's a TFO rods, TFO Tactical Elite with the wing grips, medium heavy 7-foot. Got that paired up with a Daiwa Tortula 8-to-1 reel, 15-pound fluorocarbon. There you have it, guys. Any questions about this stuff, leave them in the comments. Felt really good after that event, heading into my next one and the rest of the season. As always, appreciate you guys for watching.